am in Dubois, Wyoming, and I am outside of the Dubois Museum. This is a historical museum on this little Wyoming town with all sorts of historic buildings. So this should be cool. Let's go check this out. The main museum is just a one-room exhibit, similar to many small-town museums. But like these taxidermy mounts and this giant petroglyph, it is full of interesting artifacts. This shows how Native Americans and pioneers cooked with stone by using a rock called steatite, which would be placed in an open fire and could maintain heat and keep meals warm for a long period of time. This is very unique. It's a bighorn sheep's skull grown into a pine tree. When it was found in 1932 on a mountain, it was actually 18 feet up in the tree. The Shoshone tribe has historically inhabited the area, and their bows will be made from the bones of bighorn sheep, buffalo, and elk. This is a statue of Chief Washakie. He was the leader of the Shoshone people in the mid-19th century. In 1851, he led the Shoshones in the negotiations for the Treaty of Fort Laramie. This is a Shoshone painting on an elk calf hide of warriors in battle. These are buffalo moccasins. And these are the symbol of the Old West. Buffalo skulls and bones. Now we're getting into some mountain men history. They were really the first significant group of white men to come into the West because they were hunting furs of Western animals for consumers in the East and in Europe. Beaver pelts and other furs were very important for fashion. This coat is made from buffalo hides. This is a Sharps rifle, the gun that pretty much wiped out the buffalo. This is very unique. It's an American Red Cross veil from World War I. These are books used by American soldiers in Europe during World War I. Citizens would donate a lot of these. Ball jars from Muncie, Indiana were used to preserve food during the Great War. In 1943, a B-24 crashed in Dubois, and the reason why has never been figured out. It was being transitioned that day and it had an experienced pilot, and it just crashed on a perfectly clear day. It had no ammunition or bombs on board, but it immediately got engulfed in flames when it crashed, and that killed the 11 members of its crew. Witness Archie F. York said that it flew 75 feet above his house, circled it again, then crashed. And he said that the motors and everything seemed to be running fine on that plane. And this is a letter from another witness of the plane crash. This is a B-24 flight suit like the ones the pilots of the crashed plane would have used. And here is a flight mask from World War II. Recreation has been a big part of Dubois' heritage. Dubois is located in the Wind River Mountains near Shoshone National Forest that provides for lots of fishing. Here's a collection of musical instruments that have been used by the citizens of Dubois. That's a very old organ. Ranching has also been a major part of the economy in Dubois. These are artifacts from the CM Ranch, which was one of the largest in the area. This is a limb cast, which is formed when a log or limb is covered in volcanic dust and all of its cells die off. This is the museum's extensive taxidermy collection of local wildlife. Including the bighorn sheep and an owl. These are the fishes of Dubois. And this museum has not just one, but two bighorn sheep skulls grown into trees. Very cool. Really cool exhibits in there. And before I go look at all the old cabins, they have a couple things in the back that I wanted to look at. So I don't believe this was used as a Conestoga wagon. This is made later on. At the Teton Valley Museum in Driggs, Idaho, they have a wagon just like this that was the school bus. But I don't think it was a school bus. I think someone just traveled in here. Here's an old wagon. Guess this is their excess stuff. This looks to be a Studebaker wagon. It's really not in good condition, but you can see right there, Studebaker. Here's some more agricultural equipment. A lot of museums will have these, but I usually don't know what they were used for. I guess that was some sort of tiller. This is cool. This is an old painted wood carving of a mountain man. And this was, I guess, the old fire truck for the town. There's a stove. There's a bunny. I like this because this is the old museum style where they just throw everything in together. This is a 1900 sleigh. And this was the buggy of Dr. Peck, who was the doctor here for a long time, about 100 years ago. There's some more agricultural equipment in this shed. Along with that museum, they have 7 historic cabins and buildings outside. I love it when museums do this. This first one is a log one-room schoolhouse. This was originally an elementary school, but this was the first Dubois High School from 1926 to 1927. There were 12 kids that went here, and they only did 9th and 12th grade. Whenever I go to these one-room schoolhouses, especially now, I can't fathom it. I go to a school with about 4,000 kids, and this is 12 in the whole school. I think I'd like it better, honestly. Looks like this was the stove. Ugh, did they just use the chamber pot in the middle of class? They should have at least had an outhouse. Here's some old school books. Way, way, way smaller than the ones I use. There's an 1890 algebra book. I hate you. I hate you. And out here they have even more agricultural equipment. Again, I don't really know what anything's are. That's a hay baler. This was a bunkhouse. So this bunkhouse was built about 1900 at a ranch, and what bunkhouses were, they were pretty much just little homes for the cowboys at the ranches. There's a bear skin. And there is their chamber pot. And this is Maxwell's saddle shop. This was the saddle shop in the 30s and 40s. These saddles are for heavy duty roping for the cowboys. And a lot of those are hornless, so you just ride usually. There's some more equipment. This one's really cool. This is an original Shoshone National Forest service cabin. So this is where a ranger would live. It was pretty difficult being a forest ranger in the really early days. They had to be totally self-motivated because they had no supervision. Rangers also had to pretty much learn everything on the job. There was only forestry training way out in Europe. Here's a forest ranger mannequin. Here's some old artifacts. The plates are interesting. It says U.S. Forest Service on it. This is a sheep trap. This is an early homestead cabin. This is a 2-room homestead that was built around the turn of the century. You can see they have a sewing machine there. This would have been the kitchen. There's the stove. I really like the wallpaper on here. I've never seen a wallpaper like that. I wonder if that's supposed to be like a silhouette of Lincoln or something. This is great. They have a giant collection of barbed wire that spins around. Wash day sure must have been fun. And here they have all the steps of making butter. You gotta milk the cow, separate the cream from the milk, churn cream into butter, that's a churn right there, work the butter to remove it, and pack butter into molds. That's what this was for. And this cabin is the Wind River Tie Hack Gallery. The tie hacks were loggers who cut down the trees to make the railroad cross ties. And here's some snowshoes and ski boots. Working out in the winter doing that must have been very difficult. Here, these are logging boots called corks. In the early 1900s, the Forest Service used these nails to put in the trees that were reserved for the tie hacks. There's still one in this one too, that's really cool. Here's some old axes the tie hacks would use. This is a photo of the dedication of the Tie Hack Memorial, which I do have a video on that. That was a meat house. It's probably the most interesting meat house I've ever seen. That's interesting architecture for a meat house, and that's an outhouse. And I think this one is my favorite. It's an old Swan service station. This was opened in 1930 by Sven Swanson, who was a Swedish immigrant. That was not his original name, of course. The immigration office usually changed people's names that they couldn't pronounce. Inside they have a collection of Wyoming license plates all around the walls. Some old mechanics tools. There's an old typewriter, a radio, and woodworking tools. This is a neat statue of a rancher. This is the 1914 Denison Lodge, and Clark Gable stayed here. Alright, that was the Dubois Museum. Really cool. They have the historic museum part and the historic village. Love it when small town museums do this. Definitely check this out. But anyways, if you like these museums, roadside attractions, that sort of thing, then please subscribe and go watch my other videos. And thanks for watching.